When BMW brought out the new X3, understandably, loads of you fell in love with it. But for some, it was perhaps a little too ordinary. So if you're looking for something almost as practical but with a bit more edge, let me introduce the X4. It doesn't seem like 5 minutes since BMW first launched the X4, and just 4 years later, here's a new one. The X4 is, of course, the coupe version of the X3 SUV. So from the front, it's just like its brother. But from the windscreen back, well, it's all new. It's more daring than the old X4, particularly at the back, and I'll leave it up to you to decide if it's good looking or not. Inside, and surprise, surprise, it's just like the interior of the X3, which means that you get just lots of lovely materials, soft touch plastics, plenty of leather, and of course it's just incredibly well put together. It has a great quality feel in here. Storage is also really good. You've got a good compartment there under the armrest with that USB port. More down here at the front, space to do your charging, 2 good sized cup holders. Again, excellent glove box and good sized door bins. Now, we're big fans of BMW's infotainment system, the iDrive system, mainly because it's just so intuitive and so easy to use. You can access everything by simply swiping through. It's got a touch screen, or through using the rotary dial down here. And every BMW X4 gets BMW's connected services system, so you get live updates on the sat-nav. Sport kicks off the X4 range and includes 3-zone climate control, sat-nav with real-time traffic information, adaptive LED headlamps or parking sensors, heated front seats with leather upholstery, an automatic tailgate, 18-inch alloys and sport suspension. That's pretty comprehensive, but you'll probably want the M Sport with its body kit, larger wheels, sport seats, semi-digital dials and a larger infotainment touchscreen. Higher up the range is the M Sport X that gets a panoramic sunroof, while the M40i and the M40D M Performance and a rather hot X4M top the range. Here in the back, well, you will fit 3 adults in here, but it will be a squeeze, mainly because of the transmission tunnel down here, which of course impacts on the legroom for this centre seat. Overall though, headroom isn't too bad when you consider the rakish roofline. I know I'm only 5'4", but I've had a 6-foot colleague in here and there was definitely a bit of room to spare. The seat in front is also set for a 6-foot driver, and again, despite my size, still plenty of legroom. As for the rest of it, well, it's just a really good, practical, well-built interior. Decent sized door bins, storage nets, power points, air conditioning here in the back, and of course a couple of Isofix child seat points. For a mid-sized SUV coupe, the X4 has a surprisingly large boot, larger than its rivals, the Mercedes GLC Coupe for instance. The seats fold down 60-40 as you'd expect, and again there's a bit more space than the Mercedes. Despite this though, it is quite a bit less practical than the BMW X3's boot, so the X4's rakish design does really have to appeal. While the old X4 was only available with diesel engines, the new one does have more variety, but you're going to have to pay for it. The only petrol for now is the high-end sporty M40i version. Its 355 brake horsepower 3-litre turbocharged straight 6 will be the range topper until that hot X4M comes along packing even more power. But diesels will still be the pick for most, and there's an awful lot to go at. Now we've got what is bound to be the best seller. It's the 20D. Now this 2-litre diesel is used in a variety of other BMWs, and while it may sound a little bit rough at times, it's such a smooth engine with fantastic power delivery, and that 8-speed automatic gearbox, which incidentally is the only gearbox offered with the X4, is predictably BMW-like, slick and smooth and does the job perfectly. Now we would go for this engine, but if you want outright refinement, then I'm afraid it's the 3-litre diesel that's going to be very hard to ignore. The 2-litre diesel is noticeably more frugal though. BMW claims 52.3 miles to the gallon. The petrols are naturally the least efficient. 31.4 miles to the gallon is claimed, and CO2 sits at just over 200 grams per kilometre. Now the key reason you would choose the X4 over the GLC Coupe is the way that it drives. It's noticeably sharper, it feels so agile, the steering is responsive, it has a real fresh crispness to it. It drives no better than cars like the Porsche Macan or the Jaguar F-Pace or the Alfa Romeo Stelvio. But of course, they aren't coupe SUVs, and if that's what you're after, then this is the one behind the wheel. Bad points? Well, rear visibility is pretty dreadful, and this xDrive 20D M Sport is just under £3,000 more expensive than the equivalent X3. And that's a lot, particularly when you consider it's going to hold on to less of its residual value. Now, you could say that's irrelevant, because if you're after a coupe SUV, then you'll have already discounted the X3. And the X4 is a far better all-rounder than the GLC Coupe, but you do have to really appreciate the way it looks. Although, at the end of the day, that's probably irrelevant, because after all, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you watch our Mercedes GLC Coupe review or our SUVs playlist, and click the Carbuyer logo to subscribe to the channel.